All right. Hello there, and welcome everyone to today's webinar, 2025 Agency Predictions, Trends, Challenges, and Opportunities. My name is Paige, and I am simply here to kick off the webinar with some logistics, and I'll be organizing your audience questions as they come in on the back end so we can get those answered by our lovely panelists a little bit later on. I don't know about all of you, but I am certainly excited to hear from all of our wonderful agency leaders on the call today, who will share their thoughts on what's to come in 2025. Before we start our webinar today, I will start off by introducing just a few housekeeping items. First, just a quick reminder that we are recording this webinar. Within about 24 hours, we will share it with all of the registrants via email, so just keep a lookout for that. Secondly, the chat feature has been disabled for today's webinar. However, we do encourage you to send your questions in for our panelists via the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. While we likely won't be able to get to all of your questions, we've got a pretty large crowd here today. Please don't hesitate to ask them throughout, and we will cover as many as we can. Finally, in just a moment, you'll see just a quick polling question, introductory polling question pop up on your screen. We would love to hear where you are joining from today. So let us know. Awesome. Definitely lots of North America. Not surprising there. It's definitely conducive, the time zones here. All right. Good deal. So it looks like, yeah, mainly in North America. We've got some individuals from Europe and really all around the world. So that's awesome. Love to see it. Let's see. Thank you all for sharing. And without further ado, I am going to pass it over to our host and moderator for today's webinar, Isaiah Sell. Isaiah, you can take it away.
Thank you, Paige. And hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Isaiah, and I lead our agency partners team here at WP Engine. And I'm thrilled to host today's webinar. It is all about 2025, right? So 2025 Agency Predictions webinar. And if you joined us in previous months in October, you'll know this is our first installment of an agency webinar series. So stay tuned for more relevant content. You guys continue to ask us questions, and hopefully we've delivered. So today, we've crafted a session to help navigate the changing digital landscape, right? Web is rapidly evolving, and we want to help you guys stay in front of the curve. So we'll cover 4 critical areas. I think oftentimes we get questions in 4 areas. One is AI-driven automation. The second one is client retention strategies. Third is operational excellence. And fourth is, okay, what are the different scalable revenue streams and pricing models we should explore in 2025? So after that, we'll kind of have slide decks and panel Q&A from our agencies. We'll also have a live Q&A poll. You guys can submit questions. We'll spot trends and make sure we address those. And of course, we'll wrap up and do some housekeeping items as well. Next slide. So here's our panelists. So we have Neil from Inverse Paradox, Peter from Plug and Play, Justin from Rhino Group, all around the world, Brian from White Label, Sam from 11 Miles, and Jordan from BTS Brands. To break it, to start with a little icebreaker, agencies, would you guys mind? Could you give us a quick TLDR on maybe your quick journey, maybe the business model, right? Are you a referrer or a reseller? And then what segments do you serve? Mid-market, enterprise, things like that. Let's just go left to right, top down. And then one other ask. Here's our icebreaker question. What's maybe one thing you want to start or stop doing in 2025? Neil, could you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Hi, everybody. I'm Neil Harner. I'm the founder and CEO of Inverse Paradox. We're an agency a lot like yourselves based out of Philadelphia. Pretty much work with folks in sort of mid-market and a little bit in enterprise. A lot of our specialization, though, is building e-commerce websites for both direct-to-consumer and business-to-business using WooCommerce. Started back in 2007, so we've been around the block a few times. And When it comes to our relationship with WP Engine, we do a little bit of both. We have a number of small businesses we work with where we're essentially reselling hosting services through WP Engine, but then we also refer a lot, especially those larger clients that need that sort of direct service level agreement. As far as starting or stopping something, I think the big thing that I've kind of set up for my own sort of New Year's resolution is taking more time to do in-person meetings. Kind of fell into the habit post-COVID of, doing more things over Zoom. But I actually met with some folks in New York yesterday, took the drive out there. I'm pretty sure I won the deal just because they said, you came out here to actually sit down with us in person, spend some real time with us to get to know us. So that felt really good and something I'm looking forward to doing more of. Cool. So Brian?
Awesome. Yeah. I'm Brian Gershner, president of White Label IQ. And also a co-founder of Agency Core, independent research firm. We provide exclusive support for agencies, primarily in the design, development, and paid media area. And our focus is on small to mid-sized agencies, particularly providing that kind of behind-the-scenes support to really have that kind of expertise and talent available. And also just kind of being able to turn on bandwidth, as we know, kind of the agency cycles kind of fluctuate and sometimes are hard to predict. In our focus with agencies, it's just because agencies have a much different experience and different needs than end clients, and being able to provide a really focused experience there. Our model is based upon a hybrid offshoring. So we have support here in the United States for account and project management, and then we provide very cost-effective competitive rates with agencies by deploying offshore with our entities overseas. In that, the thing to start and stop is, start being able to articulate what you're really good at. Being able to just kind of really show up and have your core audience really narrow, know who you're talking to, and just kind of know them really, really well so that you can build authority. That is critical nowadays, I believe. In our relationship with WP Engine, we do both resell and referral. Just as Neil expressed, when we are working with kind of larger, more mission critical type engagements, we want to make sure that those clients have that direct connection and that experience. The WP Engine kind of experience the same quality of customer service that we get, making sure that everything's kind of locked down.
Thank you, Brian. And next, Justin with Rhino Group.
I think we're skipping around here already. Call me off guard. Hey, everybody. I'm Justin Czar with Rhino Group. We're a development agency based about an hour outside of Chicago. Go Bears. Let's see. So as far as our relationship with WP Engine, primarily reselling hosting services with WP Engine, we focus mostly on small and mid-market clients. A little bit like Neil, we dabble in some enterprise stuff. We do a lot of e-commerce direct-to-consumer with brands. As for something to stop doing, I would say in 2025, and this is a challenge for a lot of younger and smaller agencies, and my answer to that would be stop taking every job and every client. In a lot of cases, we take on projects that we probably know better than to take on. They're not always the right fit, but when you're young and trying to grow your business, it's easy to say yes to everything. So I think learning when to say no is a very valuable skill in this space.
Over to Peter.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Peter Richmond from Plug and Play. Plug and Play is a web agency based in London, England, and we've been going for 19 years, 20 years come February. So I'll have officially been doing this longer than not doing it, which is kind of terrifying. So probably worked on several hundred websites over the last 19 years or so. Relationship with WP Engine, we're very much on the referrer side of it, but I think that's probably a British thing more than anything else. And then, so I mean, from the starting and stopping doing things, I mean, we're really focused on streamlining our development processes and getting into using tools that are going to automate and how we can best implement AI and add value to our clients using really modern tools. So that's what we're going to really lean into over the next year. And I guess the converse of that is we're going to stop doing processes manually, and where they can be automated. So yeah, the flip side of that is just reducing humanized effort that can be automated, so that we can really like free up our talents and skills in areas like marketing and design and creativity, ways we can really add value to our customers. Thanks for having us. Shall I chip over to Sam?
Yes, please. And thank you. Last I heard is Plug and Play has a holiday party today. So appreciate your time. And yes, we'll for sure unpack and double click into the automation piece. I know there's a lot of questions about that. Sam, over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Sam. I'm head of digital delivery at 11 Miles. We're the creative practice of the Sideshow Group. We're a full service organization offering research, accessibility, brochure, e-com, SEO, you name it. Largely we do it. We're based on the South Coast in England, Bournemouth, but we have offices in Vancouver, London, Manchester, all over the place. We are mid-market and enterprise, predominantly a reseller for WP Engine. But yeah, we really offer the full service for kind of our enterprise clients, like British Telecom, KFC. So we've been working with them for some time. I personally have been leading technical delivery teams for almost 10 years now. Worked with the likes of Premier League, Adidas, AstraZeneca. So have quite a few varying clients, and that's really our niche, is trying to expand our industries. We don't specialize here at 11 Miles in a specific industry. I think one thing that we're going to certainly start doing in 2025 is to help us understand our clients' objectives and demands, is embedding team members within our clients' delivery teams, even for a day a month, just to understand on the ground what they're experiencing, the challenges they have, and where we can better support them, and breaking down those barriers between client-supplier relationships. So that's a big thing that we're going to be doing more and more of. And that's it for me to start.
Fantastic, Sam. Thank you. And Jordan, close us out for the opening.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. I'm Jordan Lipsy, owner, founder, CEO of BTS Brands. We are a hyper-focused, commercial real estate specific marketing agency specializing in graphic design and website development. Our company is in the process of merging with a training and consulting company that's also focused within the commercial real estate industry. So that's really our niche. As far as our relationship with WP Engine, we started building WordPress websites in 2013, and one of our developers just kind of referred us over to WP Engine as the best, most reliable, fastest, etc. Server hosting company for those types of websites. And over a period of 12, 15 years, we have a few hundred websites that we've developed. So it's just incredible to see how WP Engine has been such a great partner in helping us not only provide hosting services for our client, but also allowing us to participate in the success of that growth. As far as start-stop, definitely want to start taking automation seriously. That's on a personal level as well as on a business level. And I think that, just to touch on stop, other people have mentioned it, reducing that idea of nuance agency work, and that stop receiving these new type items and try to fit all the requests that someone would ask within a particular bucket.
Thank you so much. Thank you, panelists, for your time, for sharing, and your expertise. Right. And audience, as you can see, we specifically invited, quite frankly, a wide range of agencies. They're all in different stages. You have some that are in the middle part of their journey, some at later stages, and they all have different models. Some are clearly resellers, some are referrers, and some are hybrids. And the markets they serve, some have a kind of a niche approach, and some are more generalist. So I think in our conversations together, what's funny is they've collectively faced a lot of the challenges that you guys might be facing in your journey, and they have a lot to share in terms of blueprints, wisdom, all the above. So let's dive in. Next slide. To kick things off, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Neil with Inverse, who will share their insights on AI, data, accessibility, all the above. Neil, over to you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. Cool. So let's just jump right in, talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, since that's probably one of the biggest ones that we've been seeing throughout the last year and a half on the rise. So the good is, been definitely seeing trends. And I think we're going to see more of this in terms of like content and design automation, things that'll really help content writers or designers create products faster. And then you even see this now on the development side. A lot of the developers on my team have actually been using AI as a sort of sidekick to solve their problems, which has been really interesting. This can also inform better chatbots, AI-powered security measures, better search and recommendation tools. And of course, you're starting to see AI being brought into other WordPress products, whether it's plugins or third-party services. And those things it's kind of interesting. Some of them have been so far sort of just arbitrary bells and whistles. You sit there and go, why is this thing there? But then you see other ones where they could really have potential to serve a lot of value. Now, on the flip side, and this is the one where I think we're going to see more of the trend, not to feel sort of glass half empty here, is that I do think agencies are going to have to do more to protect the websites in terms of protecting the content, or in general, just even managing how these bots are scraping content from the websites, because there are more AI bots out there sort of collecting all that data to train the various AI models. And as a result of that, when you think about impact on the website, that can impact performance. It can definitely sort of overinflate the resources that you need from a WP Engine server. And as a result of that, a little bit of knowledge to support managing and blocking these things is definitely going to be needed. And then finally, with that too, you got to sit there and actually make sort of constructive decisions to say, well, what content do we essentially want to optimize? Because maybe there is value and benefit in how that's being brought into AI as well. I still see a lot of websites that have kind of sloppy code. Well, it's going to be even more important that, good structured data and semantic markup is taken seriously to ensure that these platforms can ingest the data properly and leverage it in a way that benefits the client that you're working with. So those are a few thoughts about AI. If we want to hit the next slide, I can talk a little bit about data privacy too, which kind of ties into this slightly. Data privacy has been a really interesting evolution because, of course, we start hearing about it with things like GDPR and CCPA, which is your European policies, and then your policies if you're serving people in California. But there are 5 new states that have distinct and different data privacy regulations going into place as early as January. Those states include Delaware, Iowa, Nebraska, New Hampshire, and New Jersey. And this is in addition to other states that have already in the US have expanded their own policies. I tell everybody that, if you had told me back in 2007, I'd have to be like up to speed on law and legislature, I probably would have never gotten into this business. But if you're designing and building websites that in some way, shape, or form are collecting data from the users coming to them, it's going to create more and more responsibility for the agency to know what that means in terms of impact to the client and advise them accordingly. You can't really plead ignorance on these things. So at our own agency, I'm beefing up the sort of knowledge base on this stuff with my project managers, my developers, and my designers, because they need to be able to say to the client, okay, as a result of implementing these third-party services, or as a result of implementing these features, here's how this is going to impact the data you collect from the users of your website. And therefore, you need to make sure that you actually have these other mechanisms built in to manage these data concerns, or even just update the privacy policies themselves. And now we're actually finding that we're referring our clients to lawyers more and more. And I think we're going to see more of that sort of across the board in 2025, and then even more enforcement actions, because I don't think there's been a lot of that just yet. But I think more policies that are out there state by state, you're going to see more cases, which is then going to create more awareness. And then clients are going to be asking you about how are they handling data privacy, which is going to put it back into your court. And then that brings me to my third thing, which is one that I'm pretty passionate about, which is accessibility. This is not anything new. This has been on the rise in the last few years. But the reason why I put this into the sort of trends and thinking about 2025 is that there is a new policy in Europe. And my agency, we work with some European clients. The European Accessibility Act goes into effect, which is going to make it even more important that if you are serving people in Europe, that you're taking those accessibility policies more seriously. Seeing a lot of continuous improvement in WordPress. I'm seeing a lot of continuous improvement in other plugins for WordPress, which is really wonderful. But the big thing that agencies need to do is figure out how to offer continuous improvement models, because accessibility is not one and done. I'm seeing constant problems where people are coming to me saying, I worked with such and such an agency and they promised me it was accessible, and now I'm getting in trouble. Well, maybe it was accessible a year ago when the thing was built, but it's a content management system and it's a business. It grows and evolves and things change. And even the best practices of how you manage accessibility is changing and evolving. So I think it's really important that agencies actually start offering that as a service, in addition to learning up and making sure that they really understand accessibility through and through. And then last little thing with that is that, there is a 3.0 version. Most people are referring to 2.1 or 2.2 right now of the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. But we might be seeing that in 2026. So it's good to sort of start learning about that now to be proactive. So those are my three big things for 2025.
Thank you. And we'll kick it over to Brian. I'm going to save some general questions because there's going to be trends, right? And then we'll kind of unpack them later. But Brian, over to you in White Label. Thank you, Neil.
Awesome. Yeah. No, as I said, with White Label, we work with a lot of agencies, and also through Agency Core, the research that we're doing. As we go to kind of some of the predictions that I have, if you could go to the next slide, niching down for success. So we are very much seeing with the agencies that are successful, at least the ones we're working with, and even post-pandemic, the agencies that really did well, and as we're surveying and talking and researching, the agencies that continue to do well are the ones that are really demonstrating thought leadership. Now, thought leadership, as we, sometimes it kind of becomes a coin word, but really folks who are focusing down and really kind of demonstrating and building authority within a very narrow area. As we're working with different agencies, the ones that are broader, the ones that are saying yes to a lot of different work, or maybe are not able to kind of really articulate the specific problem set or industry or audience they're serving, are really struggling to show up, because as the research into clients is showing, they're looking for just a lot more authority. They're looking to be able to spend their budgets a lot more effectively. And these agencies are really able to focus down on a couple people, a smaller group, and demonstrate such a degree of authority that they're just showing up and they're winning the work a lot faster. All the agencies that we're working with that do have very specific authority positions are winning a lot more work. They're winning larger amounts of work. And we're also seeing through our research that they're retaining work. The whole niching down is not a new kind of strategy, but we do feel that with AI coming on and with a lot of the production that we're seeing becoming commoditized, that strategy has become much more valuable. We're seeing those agencies that are focusing in that area being able to charge more. And as I said before, they're being more successful. We see that continuing. And also because of AI, we're also seeing everything is getting way noisier. It's becoming even harder and harder to stand out in the different channels. And even when going into like RFP or sitting at the table with a client who has multiple agencies at the table, those clients who are niching down are really getting more time with their clients. We see them being invited into the RFPs. We see them invited into the offices a lot more aggressively. And just, it is the winning structure. And in addition to that, just the alignment that we're getting, the concept of being able to niche down like as narrow as you can. I personally, and even through a lot of groups and other places I'm in don't feel that you can get too narrow. If you can get like down to just even a smaller and smaller group, you're going to do incredibly well. Because how many clients do you really need? You know, there is this FOMO type experience where you feel like you need a large number of opportunities or prospects to be reaching out to. But we really see and feel that like you really, how many clients do you really need to win? If you can get narrow and you can focus your marketing budgets, those people, from our experience and the agencies that we're supporting, are really killing it. If you go to the next slide. So in there too, in that niching down, a lot of this is we're also seeing and honestly being invited into a lot more kind of collaborations where we're sitting down and we're sitting with multiple agencies at the table. And really the conversation is that my agency is best in class in this area. And they're also through collaboration and having like additional agencies that you work with closely, you're able to bring additional best in class partners to the table. With those best in class services and the collaboration, if you have working relationships with additional agencies, bringing them together kind of really brings an A team. And often the end client really appreciates that because they don't necessarily are able to pick like the best PR agency, you know, the best development agency, the best, you know, design agency. At times, the quality depends upon the ability for those agencies to collaborate well. And because the agency space itself is becoming fragmented with so many agencies that are focusing down on SEO, design, et cetera, the ability for these agencies to work together through collaborations is really providing a lot more value in providing that overall strategic cohesiveness that the end client really needs to take it farther. So we are currently seeing this accelerate, but we're also seeing issues with, as I just said, the overall strategic direction that the clients are taking is also becoming much more fragmented because the individual agencies they're working with are not necessarily well connected. So that collaboration that you can bring to the table gives you more security with the clients, and also at the end of the day, we believe it provides a better product. If you go to the next slide. So as we talk about the adapting, also a lot of the projects that we're working on, we're seeing them a bit more, I want to say like piecemealed in certain ways, or when the agency is going to the table, they're asked to deliver very specific parts. Some of the research that we've been doing is that we've seen this kind of attitudinal segment where the client is coming to the table saying to the agency, you will never know our brand better than we will. And because of that, there are certain aspects of production or strategy that they feel they're really good at, and they're looking for a partner. A lot of in that scenario, we're also seeing they're not coming out and talking to agencies saying, we want you to do everything. We want you to guide us from the very beginning. They're asking for much more collaboration between the end client and the agency. And so it's taking a lot more flexibility in how the agencies are showing up, what they're delivering, and how they're really getting to know and kind of embedding themselves in those agencies. So from that, though, there is this kind of begrudgant type attitude or friction that we're seeing also, where the end clients are valuing the agency. They know they need them for the expertise, but they also feel, once again, the agency will never know the client as well as they do. So there's this really kind of frictional, begrudgant like feeling that we're seeing in the market right now that causes friction, but it's something that we kind of have to work through and kind of demonstrating how we're bringing value and authority to the table. Okay. That's it. And I think I'm running out of time.
Well, very valuable content so far. Thank you, Brian. Peter, over to you and plug and play.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. So I think, as I was saying, been doing this for 20 years, probably worked on several hundred sites. But my key predictions here, if we go onto the slide here, is really about AI and automation. For me, I think if we rewind 7 years and think about DevOps, for example. DevOps, maybe 7 years ago, we had, sysadmins and, DevOps managers and people who are actually doing things lower stack. And of course, now that we're collaborating with WP Engine, we have a simpler, easier, faster way of managing hosting and adding value to our clients. And actually, I see that as being probably a trend that features in AI and automation as it pertains to writing code. So I think going forward from here, I think a big theme moving into 2025 is the perceived value of writing code by the client. I think tools like Webflow, tools like Wix, tools like non-WordPress systems are making clients play with their own point and click editors, like in HubSpot, creating landing pages or whatever. And the perception of how much time and how complex it is, and therefore how much they're willing to pay to have things coded, is diminishing. Because effectively they're able to achieve the ends that they're looking for with lower levels of skill more quickly. So this decrease in development complexity and therefore the reduction in the number of hours that you can realistically charge on a market rate basis for marketing outcomes is kind of a key theme, I think. So the decrease in complexity actually then will, from a market dynamics perspective, also increase the number of market participants, which in turn also then lowers the value. So it's one of those kind of self-fulfilling prophecies where continued reduction in complexity, continued increase of market participants, or potentially people in housing or marketing teams being able to do more themselves, reduces the perceived value for writing code. So I think what that really means is, where can we find value centers where, as agencies, we can make the most impact to our clients? Next slide, please. So when we're thinking about the value centers, and as I was saying here, we've got like development, writing code as being a diminishing value center, similar to DevOps. And anything that's actually perceived to be automatable, even if it's not, what we're finding is the perception in the buyer is that actually, am I willing to pay for this? It doesn't seem like something I want to pay for. But what they are willing to pay for on an ongoing basis is marketing strategy, something that Brian mentioned actually a minute ago. And outside of that, things like insights. I feel like agencies are really well placed to bring an external perspective to the table and provide fresh ideas that people who are inside the organization would never have come to. But I think being creative, thinking about how you can best add value to your customers across strategy, insights, and ongoing retainer work, things like search engine optimization, conversion rate optimization, is going to make a big difference. Ultimately, the client goals are going to remain the same. They want great looking sites. They want to increase their market penetration and get in front of more of their target audience more often, and ultimately convert those target audiences into leads or sales. And so when we really think about those levers and those levers in which we can most directly impact our clients' businesses, those are the value centers that they're going to be continuing to invest in going forward. So for us, that diminishing value center of writing code is actually now our key focus going forward. So as I was saying at the top of the webinar, on my stop, streamlining development with better tools is now front and center of our thinking. So that takes me on to the next slide, please. So those tools, obviously, everybody's going to be familiar with, OpenAI's ChatGPT and, Replit and Cursor, and there's all these like AI tools out there at the minute. And certainly we're going to be, using some of those. We're already using Copilot, for example. But streamlined development with WP Engine, been a great partner for us. And certainly, they've got tools, including like Studio Presses system. We've been building one out ourselves called wpslingshot.com, where we're actually able to like design and build a website and deploy it to WP Engine in about 60 seconds. By all means, go have a look. But it's one of those where actually investing in these tools and thinking about how we can accelerate client value and remove like the humdrum of the challenges that you face. In the same way that WP Engine has actually like reduced those challenges in DevOps, how can we reduce those challenges in development? And I think as agency owners and any kind of PMs on the call or AMs on the call who are client facing, I think being able to act and move forward very quickly and add that client value, is going to be super pertinent. So focusing on those value centers, as I was saying, being creative, looking at the insights you can bring to the table, looking at retained services outside of that is really important to us here at Plug and Play. It's going to enable us to remain competitive as well as the market dynamic shifts where people are not willing necessarily to pay, where they could do something on Webflow, or could do something on HubSpot, or they could do something on Framer or whatever it is. Whereas in actual fact, WordPress is an incredible ecosystem, as we all know. And for us, I think it's just about moving forward in a direction that remains competitive in that space and enables us to bring the best ideas to the table. So really looking at innovating and moving forward with wpslingshot.com on our side and designing and building those websites more effectively. So that's me. Thanks for the time.
Great. I think it's my time then. So I guess the starting point really in terms of where we see there being a major trend, and Ozai, do you mind going to the next slide, is around embracing hyper-personalization. So it's not new, personalization as a concept. Customers, consumers largely expect it. You can see some of the stats on the right-hand side. It is expected amongst consumers that they have a degree of personalization, particularly on e-commerce experiences. But particularly with audiences becoming much more diverse as we move into 2025, we know that we're not really dealing with demographics in the traditional sense anymore, that actually even within those demographics and crossing demographics, there are what we could term tribes. And so the way we have to cater for those more diverse audiences needs to diversify as well. And we need to become much more nuanced in our approach to user experience. And through that, one of the solutions is hyper-personalization. So looking at actually how we can personalize experiences in order to generate more revenue for our clients, but also actually overall provide a better experience for our users. AI will unlock a lot of the opportunities with hyper-personalization. There's many tools out there that are available to explore, but the opportunity to optimize and pivot campaign strategy in real time based on trends and allowing for predictive analytics to anticipate a user's needs when they arrive at the site, rather than actually reacting to any actions on the site, will provide a really powerful mechanism for driving a better experience and helping clients deliver on some of their goals. A warning, as some of the other presenters have said so far, AI and obviously hyper-personalization comes with its own risks. So throughout, one of the challenges is going to come around remaining in control, considering privacy throughout, and not overextending ourselves to the point where we are effectively building personalized AI without control mechanisms and measurements for success. Next slide, please. It's been touched on a little bit so far, some of the risks that agencies face in the coming year. AI, as has already been mentioned, is certainly one of those, and actually ensuring that we as agencies show and demonstrate the value we can add and actually do add is going to be one of the things that increasingly plays on agency leaders' minds. Rising operational costs for our clients obviously plays a part, and how effectively our clients feel they can achieve some of their goals using AI without an agency. These are two things that are going to put more pressure on agencies to deliver more, potentially for less. So pivoting our focus in terms of where we can add value to our clients in the face of this will be more important than ever. Actually focusing on where our clients need support and services, and finding our strengths in ideation and production areas in the context of an AI activated world is going to be really important. And to do that, and it's been mentioned by some of the other presenters, looking at things like strategy and embracing a client's long-term objectives is going to be really important so that you effectively become an extension to their team and really engage with business leaders on their side around the overarching vision, and making sure that to underpin that vision, you take an objective orientated approach to planning so that it's very easy and tangible in terms of just demonstrating results of the work that you do deliver. And then beyond that, it is down to agencies to develop an effective, consistent, robust process for ensuring that clients are aware of the value that is added and actually underpinning the plans that are in place of those objectives. And the work that we do, we need to demonstrate actually how we're meeting those objectives. So forming parts of ongoing conversations when any new work comes in around how are we going to deliver this successfully and what do we measure success as, and then whether internally or in discussion with the client, what is the reporting metric for determining whether a campaign, a project has been successful is going to be quite important. Next slide, please. And sustainability, like personalization, isn't a new topic necessarily, but actually our perceptions and consumers' perceptions of sustainability are changing to the point now where brands are no longer celebrated for their sustainability credentials. It's actually more of an expectation now. So the perceptions of sustainability being a nice thing to do as a brand is actually now more of a, you should be doing this, or I may move and use one of your competitors instead. That is partially because audiences are becoming much more environmentally conscious, and actually audiences that are getting to a point where they now have more of the market share, spending power, because they have grown up with messaging around the importance of sustainability and environmental impact. They now are having a larger, more impactful say on which brands succeed and which don't. So many of the techniques for achieving web accessibility, which has been discussed earlier, actually can also help improve user experience and can help sustainability. So part of the messaging to clients is how sustainability should feed into part of the ongoing work that you do and the roadmap of changes, and actually the benefit of doing it as part or in conjunction with work around accessibility or UX enhancements. The message for clients is relatively simple, other than being, actually morally a good thing to do, and the expectations from customers and consumers around why sustainability is important and making sure those are being adhered to. It can provide a competitive advantage as well. So with those audiences changing their expectations, proving your credentials is in the sustainability space is really important. One of the big benefits of WP Engine really is actually around the green hosting solutions, which are really valuable and can be one of the most costly areas to change to improve sustainability of any given site. So for clients hosted on WP Engine, half the battle is won. But there are numerous other things that are relatively quick wins around reducing load speed and looking at kind of common thread approaches to work. You may find that actually through adjustments to your tech stack and how you develop in terms of development frameworks and principles you use, that there'll be other improvements in terms of cost effectiveness of the work and the reusability of code as well, which in itself will lower your internal costs, reduce technical debt, improve speeds. So if this is new to anyone, have a look at KISS principles or DRY principles. They're all about reusing code and making more efficiencies in code that can all have benefits as well. So there are multiple benefits, and bringing this to the table with clients as part of a roadmap for 2025 and beyond is going to be more important than ever. I think that wraps everything up from my side.
Thank you, Sam. And Jordan, over to BTS.
All right, sounds great. Yeah, I think these first couple of slides are more so back to the basics, and I think that leads nicely into the AI stuff. But for the first slide, just a little background on our company. When we started, really what I wanted to create, accomplish, the void we wanted to fill was to offer a back office marketing solution for the commercial real estate industry. So in that, we built and you can go to the first slide. We built a monthly subscription program that offered certain services on an ongoing basis. Well, fast forward, WP Engine has been kind of a huge, help in us making this understanding. We realized all of these different places that, we touch the client. One is hosting, but also email server management, Outlook, CRM support. You see a lot of success with HubSpot agencies and of the like. Software resale, Adobe is a product that our clients rely on, as well as file storage. All of this ongoing work that we're doing for clients, we're ultimately, storing it for them. So like that's an opportunity for us as well. So I think, prediction one is agencies will figure out a way to be sticky to their existing clientele and figure out ways to become involved with necessary software that the clients already have. One of the beauties about this is, I mean, the increase in passive revenue and the opportunity for increase in passive revenue is substantial. So yeah. So we can go to the second slide. So I think this ultimately will feed in well to the AI slide next. But just talking about automation, and this is a realization that I've made with AI, is that it's so reliant on the prompting and it's so reliant on the structure and process. So speaking of the nuance, speaking of the automation, when I think of the services that our agency offers, I always like to think of In-N-Out Burger, if you're familiar with the concept, or BurgerFi or Shake Shack. And when you get right to the counter, you can see everything right there. It's very easy to understand. As an agency, that's what I want to be able to provide for our prospective clients, is that, okay, here are our offerings, and then developing a system behind each one of those offerings to ensure that once that client comes through the door, everybody on our team knows exactly what to do. So it's no longer being in this place of having to stop, kind of go into a situation, go out of a situation, say, oh, okay, do we want to do this project or not? Okay, we have to figure this out. Just being really dedicated to, this is our list of service offerings, and building out a process as it relates to that. We can go to the third slide. So, talking about the AI revolution, I think we all agree in a lot of ways that AI is going to increase in use case scenarios, specifically within the agency. Our agency, I feel, has done a really good job of utilizing AI for SEO, content development. However, we've seen some limitation, and maybe some other panelists can speak on this with some other solutions, but we've seen limitation on the graphics side of things. And our company does a lot of graphic stuff. So the idea of putting together an investment sale presentation for a property that's for sale, kind of understanding the inputs and AI generating a beautiful brochure based on the input, we haven't found that it's quite there yet, but it's just a matter of time before it is. So when you think of, okay, AI is great at content development, okay, now it can do visual stuff, now it can do video. I think it all flows back to, the previous slide. It's like, okay, you want AI to do all of these things for you, but what is your process for doing it? Do you have the appropriate prompts to collect the necessary data for AI to be able to flow these workflows? Ultimately, I think this is going to make a lot of people's lives easier. But I do think there's a huge need for operators to set up these workflows. And I think this idea of an AI operator becomes more of a position that is useful within an agency. So yeah, thanks y'all for letting me share.
Thank you, Jordan and Justin. Close this out. And audience,
All right.
time for maybe one question. I see something about revenue streams. Panelists, maybe give that a think, but we'll try to squeeze it in if we can. Justin, let's go.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of where I'm going to start. So you can go into the first slide here. So I figured since I was kind of going near the end, I tried to think about, things that would be beneficial to other agencies out there, right? The predictions, obviously, we've talked a lot about AI today, so I'm not going to really hash that one out. I think we've covered that one, right? So for us as an agency, we've been in business as an agency for 20 years now. So 2004, Rhino Group started. So this is our 20th year. We have several hundred websites that we built, developed, host, all that fun stuff with WP Engine primarily, right? So one of the things that we're seeing is that clients are demanding more return from their websites than ever before. In the early days of building websites, people wanted a website kind of just to have a website. They needed a presence online. They wanted something there. There wasn't a lot of focus on the return from that website, right? Obviously, when we talk about e-commerce, that's easy to see the return on e-commerce, right? How many sales am I making? We deal with a lot of non-e-commerce clients as well. So they're looking primarily for sales leads. They're going to be service-based, let's say businesses, right? So our clients, like I said, are demanding more from their websites than ever before. Long ago, we decided as an agency that we really wanted to focus on our niche, right? Not just a niche in the industries that we serve, right? So we have a niche, we service the kind of the outdoors, hunt, fish, shoot space is kind of the niche that we work in. But beyond that, we wanted to build really good websites. And when you look at what goes into a really good website, you have a lot of different components, whether it's design, copywriting, all the marketing that happens after launch, right? Optimization, all those types of things, right? But I think as agencies, early on, it was easy to focus on kind of the two main ones, right? SEO and SEM, because that's what everybody asks about. We want to get traffic to the website. How do we get better at SEO? How do we get better at SEM? For us, again, we wanted to focus on design and development. So what we've done, and a couple of the other presenters have touched on this as well, is we went out and found partner agencies that we could work with that are specialists and they're hyper focused on whether it's SEO and SEM or other services, design, copywriting, photography, video work for some of our local clients that we work with, and trying not to be all things to all customers, right? So that was one of our main things that we had to learn as a growing agency. And that kind of tied back into one of the things I said at the beginning was like knowing what we're really good at and what we're not really good at, right? So again, finding partner agencies with complementary services is a great solution. The other thing, and some people have asked about this, is recurring services and passive revenue streams. This is another thing I think as a young agency, we didn't really realize the value in it. So when we talk about WP, because that's kind of what brought us all here today, we've talked about referring partners and reselling partners. For us, we've pretty much always been a reselling partner, right? So we have our own accounts, our own servers we resell to our clients. For our clients, we offer them what we consider a fully managed hosting environment. So when you look at WordPress, you have all the wonderful updates to deal with, right? Both to core WordPress as well as all of the various plugins. That's a constant battle that you're fighting. Automating those updates and plugin updates is great when they work, not so great when they don't work, right? So for us, we've always decided that, for our clients, if something is wrong with their website, whether it be the hosting solution, the application itself, an integration to a third party, they're calling us, they're emailing us, they're looking to us to solve those issues and be responsible for them. So we've always wanted to maintain control over those environments. WP Engine's been a great partner for us. I think we're very similar to other partners. When we got started in web development, we were building a lot of classic ASP and .NET stuff back in the early 2000s, switched over to WordPress probably 2011, somewhere in there. Found WP Engine around that time, maybe 2012. Really been working with them ever since. A couple other people have mentioned accessibility as well, right? As an ongoing service. As a lot of folks have mentioned, right? Widgets and overlays, they're quick, easy fix, but they're not exactly the best solution. So again, looking for areas that you can generate recurring service, passive revenue streams. As a development agency, that's huge for us because it takes a little bit of the pressure off of having to worry about where that next big job is coming from, right? We want to keep our customers happy. We want to keep selling them services that they need and that are benefiting their businesses. So accessibility is a huge one. We talked about data privacy as well. A/B testing, conversion rate optimization, site speed and performance. That kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of your SEO these days. So focusing on that type of stuff. And the other thing I would say is just partner and referral programs. We talked about referrals for WP Engine. We don't really use them. We're more of a reseller, but there's a lot of other programs out there that have really good referral programs for development agencies that can create pretty significant income streams for people. And they become, again, very valuable sources of income. So you're not always necessarily having to worry about the next big job where that's coming from. And those referral programs can be anything from, payment gateways, which is great for referring, e-commerce, a lot of the SaaS-based stuff out there. I know we all use WordPress. WooCommerce, we do a lot of big commerce development as well. That's got a great income stream for us. So there's a lot of partner referral programs out there that I think agencies should really devote more time into focusing on those types of things. So I think that's good for that slide. So let's talk headless commerce, because it's one thing that wasn't brought up. I was trying to think of topics that I don't think anybody else was going to talk about on this. So our agency specializes in, like I said, kind of the hunt, fish, shoot, outdoors space. So we work with a lot of brands. Those brands sell primarily through traditional brick and mortar stores, so sporting goods stores. They sell a lot through, of course, Amazon and other online retailers. And now they're starting to sell more direct to consumer. It's an interesting space, being a brand that produces a product that's selling through both brick and mortar and direct to consumer, because there's a lot of, you're kind of competing with your own customers, right? What we found over the years is when you look at e-commerce and you look at some of the SaaS-based solutions that are out there, whether it's a Shopify or a BigCommerce or some of the other ones that are out there, they were really set up to be, pure e-commerce stores. I'm somebody that wants to sell a bunch of products online. They weren't always the best for the visual presentation of the product data. And when you are the manufacturer, the brand, the source of that product data, you want something a little bit more robust for typically your product detail page, your PDPs, maybe your category pages, things like that. So what we started doing a few years ago was a lot more headless commerce. So we use WordPress as the front end. We use BigCommerce as the back end for a lot of those websites. So again, the front end is going to be hosted at WP Engine. Back end is going to be with BigCommerce, right? It's great for those brands who want to sell direct but want a more robust front end, but they also want something that they can control on their own. What we're seeing more and more is, and somebody mentioned this early as well, right? There's a lot of point and click, drag and drop, website editors and builders out there. And everybody wants to be able to do this stuff on their own. And I understand that. When they want to make a change to a product or something like that, they don't want to feel handcuffed to their agency, which is one of the great things about WordPress. They can go in there and do a lot of that stuff on their own. So that's one of the main reasons that we really started using headless commerce. We had a lot of luck with it in the last few years. But of course, there's downsides to everything, right? Cost. So we kind of have almost double the cost, because you have your SaaS solution costs, plus you have your hosting WordPress costs as well, right? So additional costs. It's also additional complexity, more things to go wrong with those data integrations between the two platforms. But yeah, headless commerce is, like I said, it's been something that's really good for us. We don't use it for everyone. It's not right for all of our clients. And I think that's another important thing for any agency, is to try to really hone in and identify the needs of the client and make sure that they're being met appropriately. So we still do, considerable amount of WooCommerce development. We do some pure BigCommerce, and then a decent amount of headless, which is kind of the hybrid of both. So you can skip through to my last slide. And the last one that I want to talk about, this is something that we're doing more and more of. Excuse me, this is going to be data integration, or let's call them automations in a lot of cases. So again, we're talking e-commerce. In the early days when these businesses were small and they weren't doing a lot of online orders, they would take an order, they would print it out, hand it to somebody, pick, pack, ship, type it into the accounting system, whatever. Those days are long gone. So as there are more and more tools that our clients are using to do a variety of different things, whether that's their order fulfillment, whether that's customer service, whether that's fraud protection, whether that's the front end security layer in front of the website, the WAF, we use Imperva for a lot of our clients. almost every client we have has got an integration with their ERP or their accounting system. A lot of them are looking for advanced analytics and reporting. All of those systems are kind of disparate. They're all separate from one another. So what we're spending a lot of our time doing is building integrations that connect those systems so they can talk to one another, that provides our clients with a lot more visibility into kind of the state of the union, if you will, of how things are going. So they don't have to keep logging in to all these different applications or manually re-entering data, things like that. So again, it's something that, I think it was Neil or somebody earlier that said, like, when we got started building websites, we were just building websites. And now we're worried about the legal aspect of data privacy. We're worried about fraud protection on the e-commerce side. All these things that we're worried about. Again, if we would have known back then the amount of, back end, data integration work we were potentially getting ourselves into, we may have done things a little bit differently, but it hasn't been a very good revenue stream for us. And it's also been something that's helped set us apart from a lot of other agencies that we've been up against in the past, because we do have a lot of that back end proficiency and experience with those integrations. And that's something that everybody wants and needs these days. So just something to think about for everybody, because there isn't, I don't think, a website we build nowadays that doesn't integrate with multiple other pieces of software and systems for our clients. And that's it, because I know we're kind of running short on time, so I'll be brief, nice and easy.
Thank you so much, Justin. And I dropped a little note in our chat. In the interest of time, we can wrap it up here. But rest assured, right, we'll send up a follow-up email. Want to say thank you so much to the audience and our esteemed panelists for joining us on our conversation today. Our goal here is hopefully you're leaving today with some actionable strategies to grow in 2025, right? So we covered a lot of ground in terms of AI-driven automation, scaling different revenue models, right? We'll send that out via email, and then client retention strategy. So clearly, this hour has flown by, right? So there's a lot for us to unpack. We'll dive in deeper in future installments. Please come learn with us. So as a next step, as you can see, I encourage you all to encourage WP Engine's Agency Partner Program. It has resources to empower agencies like y'all to unlock new opportunities, be more operationally efficient, things like that. So once again, a big thank you to our panel of experts. Really appreciate your valuable insights and your contribution to our community. Right? WordPress is beautiful, and we get to build the world that we want to live in. Be on the lookout for a follow-up email with the webinar recording, the panel insights. I'll wrap here. Thank you guys so much once again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at future events. Have a great close to 2024. Cheers, y'all.